The Chicago Fire went up against Columbus Crew over the weekend and lost 3-1. While a loss is never good, losing against Wilfred Nancy's Columbus Crew is at least a reasonable result. But is that the case for the Chicago Fire? Well, that's what I'm here to talk to you about. You're watching Firewatch FC. Unless you've been living under a rock, you should know that Wilfred Nancy is by far the best coach in MLS. It's not even close. He makes bad teams look good and good teams look elite. And if you're a Fire faithful, you should know that Frank Lopas is the polar opposite of that, making good teams look bad and bad teams look like your uncle's Sunday league team. So when both teams clash in league play, you'd imagine the Fire would lose something crazy like 7-0, but in fact, they only lost 3-1. Do not mistake my slight relief for joy, because this still marks the 7th match without a win. Now, if we crunch those numbers in our super secret algorithm, the results come out to say that our record for the season have been 2 wins, 4 draws, and 8 losses for the season. Let's move on to the 4 takeaways before I get depressed. And you guys know how this goes already. It's green boxes for good performances and red boxes for bad ones. And first, let's get this one out of the way. Glopas is on his way out. I'm not going to bother explaining it. It's a red box. He's just going to be permanently in the corner somewhere. And with that out of the way, now we can move on to our first green box, and that's going to have to go to Chris Brady. And it's very simple. Chris Brady is the diamond in the rough for the Chicago Fire. He is the only bright spot in this entire team. I can 100% agree with the Chicago Fire's Instagram account when they say that Chris Brady comes in clutch, because he does. He has saved this team from downright embarrassing losses. He is the reason why this match wasn't 7-0. And it's quite unfortunate for Chris Brady, honestly, because the reason he doesn't have the most clean sheets in MLS so far is because of the back line. The back line has just let him down and leave him open for goals that he cannot do anything about. And with that being said, let's keep these good vibes going and give a shout out to someone that I think actually deserves it. And that's going to go to Shaqiri. In this match, Shaqiri has shown again that he still has that star power. Shaqiri is the one that got the crowd excited when he stepped up to take that free kick and continued it up with the following corners. And I honestly feel that Shaqiri is the only one that can really do that. He's the only one that can really excite the fan base because he's just that guy. We know what he's capable of. He still is a difference maker. And I don't care what the stats say, that was Shaqiri's goal. That was his moment. It wasn't Terren's and it wasn't Gutierrez on the assist. Shaqiri deserved full credit for that one because he gave the fan base something that they haven't had the entire game, and that was hope. With that being said, I don't think that he should be in the starting lineup. Clearly, you can tell that he can change the momentum of a game towards the later stages of the match, and you're not asking him to defend. You're simply just asking him to create some chances for the Fire. And in the later stages of the match, that works really well. So I'm really hoping that we keep him on the sidelines and just bring him in for him to be this veteran super sub that we need him to be. But of course, we can't talk about Shaqiri subbing in without talking about the one that he subbed out. And that was Brian Gutierrez. And I have to give him a call out. And that's mostly because it's 1 step forward and then 2 steps back for Brian Gutierrez. For example, he shows great aggression in the first half, but then disappears on the second. He gets this really great cross that's close to goal, but then he takes a bad corner in the same match. Not to mention that he also tried to dribble through multiple defenders instead of looking for that pass. And you can also tell that the chemistry between Gutman and Guti are still not there yet. You can tell that preseason magic is still somewhere in there, but he still missed simple plays like the touch and go that he had with Gutman. The reason why this is a call out and not a full-on red box is because he's still young, he's still getting used to that position. These things are going to come with experience. Keep in mind that he's still just 20 years old and he hasn't really gotten a good run of games as the starting number 10. So give him a few games and I think these type of issues will kind of go away in the long run. Now I want to move on to another Chicago native, and that's going to be with Chris Mullers. I actually want to give him a shout out because I think he did a pretty good job today. I mean, we have to talk about that perfect cross that he did to Kuipers. That should have been a goal. Put on top of that, that he also didn't miss a single pass the entire game. That's honestly really impressive, and that is what you want to see for a winger slash midfielder. With that being said though, this is a shout out and not a green box. And that's simply because he's been having a hard time going through defenders. In this game, he has only won 1 out of 8 ground duels. That means that he has tried to dribble past these defenders and he's losing a majority of the time. And of course, we have to talk about that goal that the Fire conceded. Chris Muller, he played an essential role in conceding that goal. He was chasing after the second runner. Gutman was holding off Farsi at the time. Muller then tells Gutman to switch. Farsi uses that opening to get the cross off, and that gets the goal. That was poor decision making that led to the second goal that continued to bury the Chicago Fire. Now, to me, that feels like a play that Frank Lopa should have drilled him on better, because clearly they weren't expecting that to happen. Next up, let's talk about the next red box, and that's gonna go to pretty much the entire back line except for Aragoni. And listen, I don't care that Turan got that goal. As a defender, your defending comes first, okay? And to me, that goal that he got was pure luck to me. He just happened to be there at the right time. So let's go ahead and talk about the two center backs, Turan and Chihos. Both of them were awesome in the air. That's a given. But it's the inconsistency throughout the match for me. Chihos clearly caused the goal, and Turan just looks sloppy on the ball. He can't really seem to find a good pass either. And if we look over to Gutman, he can't stop the opposition. This entire back line is just not working. And I feel for Chris Brady, because that back line is the reason why he can't get clean sheets. And since we're on the topic of defending, let's go to our next red box. And this is gonna go to Kellen Acosta. In this match, Acosta showed exactly why he lost his starting position. He was subbed in and he was nowhere to be found. There was absolutely no defending at all coming from Acosta. And fine, we were losing when he got subbed in. So maybe Glopas told him to be more of the attacking front, but he wasn't involved in the attack either. So I don't know what was going on there. And it's a waste of a sub when you take a look at who he replaced, because that was Jimenez. When Jimenez was out there, he was an attacking threat. During that corner, he got a solid shot at goal. He also happened to be a defensive wall, winning all of his tackles for the night. And again, he did a lot of forward passes, unlike Acosta. So for me, clear as day, that's a red box for Acosta. And my next red box, that one has to go to Hugo Kuipers. This is the first red box that I give Kuipers, and it's for good reason. He definitely should have scored today. He got his chances, but he just didn't capitalize. The one that got me the most upset was that one from Chris Muller. That should have been a goal. And that's not the only thing that's been bothering me. He keeps running around far from the attacking third to get the ball himself. And during transition, that leaves the Fire with absolutely no one to pass the ball to. And I realize that Kuipers is just going rogue because he's frustrated, because he cares. But when you're also not burying those chances that you do get, you're gonna get a red box. And while we're talking about strikers, let's go ahead and talk about his replacements. Tom Barlow was doing Tom Barlow things by pressuring the opponent's back line to maybe create a little bit of havoc for them, but he's not the one that we look for when we need goals. The one that we do look for those goals, however, is Gutierrez. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to put Gutierrez on fraud watch. Look, I realize that he's only 20 years old, but he's a striker. And he's had 352 minutes this season to show us what he's got. And in those minutes, he's had plenty of chances at goal, and all of them have been wasted. In this match, Gutierrez had a perfect breakaway. And honestly, I can't tell you if that was a missed shot or a cross attempt. Things aren't looking good for Gutierrez at the moment. And I just want to put it out there that maybe, just maybe, Gutierrez isn't a good backup for Hugo Kuipers anymore. With all of that being said, I'm still hopeful that the Chicago Fire can find a way to turn this around. Sure, that might mean that we need to find a new head coach, but that can be solved, right? You can always get a new coach. Keep in mind that the summer transfer window is coming up, and there'll be a lot of head coaches that are going to be looking for a job. And hopefully we can get a good one to come help us out here in Chicago. Anyway, now I'll throw it back to you guys. What do you guys think of the match? Was I being too harsh on any player or maybe too lenient? How do you guys think Chicago Fire will do against DC United? Let me know in the comments down below, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts. And of course, even when we're this close to the bottom of the table, it's always 97 till forever.